Wasteland 3 promises a huge expansion on reactivity to players' choices and the massive worlds that Inexile has become known for. Does the latest entry in the iconic RPG series keep true to its roots?
Good job getting those sons of bitches. Over and out.
Or have the Desert Rangers finally met their match? Find out in our review. Right from the start, Wasteland 3 wastes no time throwing punches at the players. The character creation system adds a lot from Wasteland 2, and like much of the rest of the game, builds on it in greater detail. Players begin with a party of 2, perfect for the built-in co-op system, and grants players the option of multiple different pre-made duos, or the ability to craft their own unique characters with all their own skills, abilities, and quirks. There's a lot to dig into when it comes to the character creation system, and I have no earthly idea how long I spent putting together my main characters, Killer and King, a duo focused heavily on explosives, hacking, and shooting the heads off with some of the game's most powerful sniper rifles.
Decimate you!
Probably not the best group to try to tackle the Wasteland with, but it has turned out to be a very fun journey so far.
Well, I'm ready when you are.
From here, the game expands greatly, introducing you to the cold and frigid waste of Colorado. While the Rangers traveled to this new state to find help for their brothers and sisters back in Arizona, it turns out that Colorado is actually worse off than Arizona was.
And it all begins here, you little prairie dog. What I do to you, the Dorsey's gonna do to all of Colorado.
You're quickly introduced to some of the best parts of the game, the reactive world, and you find yourself making decisions with rippling effects early on, some of which can completely lock you out of dialogue and mission options later down the line.
We're done here. I'll find some other way to take down your pal Brygo, and it won't include you.
The Patriarch, an almost godlike king of Colorado, needs your help to find and bring his 3 kids home. They're lost, as he says, and making bad decisions.
My name is Saul Buchanan. I own Colorado, though you'll meet some who disagree.
From the start, it seems like he might not be that bad of a guy. But of course, you quickly learn that not everything is as it seems. And while the grass may look greener on the other side, it's really just as rotted and dead as the pasture that you left behind.
The deal's still in place. You help me, I help Arizona. And the flame of civilization spreads its warm glow a little further into the night. That's what we all want, right?
While there is a very intriguing and cohesive story that flows throughout Wasteland 3's campaign, a lot of how that story plays out will vary from person to person. Part of what makes this game so good is the reactiveness of the various people and factions to the things that you do. You have the ability to kill pretty much everyone you come across, including the Patriarch himself. This means important characters, like quest givers, are open season right from the start, and depending on how you play things, you might end up missing out on some options.
What in the world are you doing? I won't have you aiming at my fellow townsfolk.
Going back to what I said earlier about nothing being as it seems, the Patriarch and his people do a really good job of making it look like you don't have any choice but to go along with their plans. Fortunately, Inexile has done a great job with the dialogue and choices that players face, and just about every other decision I've come across has offered multiple ways of dealing with things. Nothing is set in stone, and this truly is your story to tell, despite Inexile having a cohesive narrative that runs in the background.
I like that. Keeps Daisy out of my business and takes care of a problem I didn't want in the first place. All right, you got a deal.
It's truly great to see so much emphasis put on the player's choices and actions. This level of immersion and reactiveness is what has always set the Wasteland series apart from other RPG franchises, and it's fantastic to see Inexile putting so much power in the player's hands.
You're siding with us? Wow. Thank you, Rangers.
Honorable choice, Team November, but it won't lessen the friction. I'm afraid we'll pay for this later.
I'd love to talk more about these features in depth, but the story is one of the best parts of Wasteland 3, and I don't want to spoil it for those looking forward to diving in.
It's not enough. I know. The men and women you lost can never be replaced, but it's what I can give you. I hope you'll accept it.
I will say that In Exile has done well at bringing the same dark humor that was noticeable in the past 2 entries, though this time they've upped it to 11.
I can handle multiple humans at once, if that's how you like it. Or one at a time, if you're bashful.
Several groups and people that you meet have taken their own approaches to the world, like Payasos, a group of criminals who all dress up like clowns and do some outrageous things like strapping bombs to the back of pigs and then lighting them on fire. There are, of course, other instances of characters and groups like this, and it really helps to give the game's darker story a bit of lightheartedness throughout.
The lambs speak. You know what? You asked me a straight question. Let's forget about the lamb nonsense.
There's a ton to unpack here in Wasteland 3, and a lot of new features and changes to take in. The world map from Wasteland 2 has changed a bit. Instead of needing water and other supplies to get around, players can actually move around in a vehicle, exploring various parts of the Colorado landscape.
Cast forth your minds, brothers and sisters!
On top of the map, there are plenty of intriguing locations and characters to meet along the way, and players will have a lot of people to choose from when it comes to filling their 6-man squad, which is another important part of the gameplay in Wasteland 3.
Should be more recruits arriving soon. Ready to tell me how you want to fill out your squad?
Much like your main characters, the squad that you run with throughout the campaign can change depending on which characters you'd like to roam around with. There are plenty of unique companions that you can find and recruit, and even ostracize depending on your decisions.
Party Pal wants to join your ranger team. Isn't that grand?
If you're not a big fan of running the studio-created companions though, you can also create your own, just like you did at the beginning of the game. Of course, In Exile recommends running with at least 2 of the game's unique companions, as it will offer a different insight into the world around you and can help you choose where you want to go with the story. This is exceptionally important when making big decisions, as you can end up completely changing what a faction thinks of you with a single action. I found myself listening to the warnings and things that my companions had to say quite a lot when deciding on things, and it often led to my opinion swinging one way or the other.
I know refusing these people will start trouble, but this isn't right. The Patriarch wanted his son back, alive and whole, not with some dead president taking over his mind.
Your squad loadout is also extremely important in combat. Like previous entries in the series, Wasteland 3 relies upon the turn-based system that helped make old-school RPGs so iconic. Making sure your squad is versatile in different types of weapons and skills is important, and having a bad setup can lead to your squad being completely wiped out. Cover and placement is also more important than ever, as enemies will take any advantage that you give them and run with it. I once found myself struggling to overcome a specific combat encounter because I couldn't get my squad set up in the right locations, and it led to a bit of frustration as I worked hard to turn the tide of battle in my favor.
My advice is to put together a squad with complementary skills. Nobody can be great at everything. So pick recruits who are good at things your current team isn't.
Wasteland 3 is one of those games that I could go on and on about, but the truth is, you really need to experience it yourself. The vast amount of content on display here is admirable, and In Exile has once again proven why the community surrounding its titles is so passionate about what they do. The reactiveness and immersion that players can experience in the game is almost unparalleled in current video games, and throughout my entire time with it, every second has felt like I was experiencing a living, breathing world, one that I've been happy to get lost in over the past week or so.
Spoken like a true lapdog.
I really don't have any complaints about Wasteland 3, if I'm honest. Every bit of the game has been fantastic and exciting to explore. The dialogue is witty and fun, and it helps bring the game to life quite well.
To put it in human terms, we just want to, chill and have a good time.
I did run into a few issues during my time with the game, including some audio bugs and a few times where combat would hang up on turns. These issues usually fix themselves after a few moments, and it never detracted from the experience all that much, as it didn't happen very often.
I know how to do it, I just don't feel like it right now.
If you're a big fan of the original Wasteland games, or just an RPG fan in general, then I highly recommend picking up Wasteland 3 and giving it a try. There really isn't any excuse not to. The open-ended nature of the world and the choices that you have put you in full control of what happens throughout the story. And it really sets a high bar for any future titles looking to offer the same kind of immersion and storytelling. For more video reviews and everything else gaming related, you're already in the right place. You're on Shacknews.com.
I know I should be more aggressive. Well, maybe I can catch them off guard. They won't be expecting me to. Talk it out.